I was halfway through my morning coffee when my phone lit up with a photo, 17 smiling faces, for shiny SUVs lined up like trophies in front of a mountain lodge. The caption read, "Family Trip Tradition. Couldn't fit everyone, lol. Everyone except me." For a second, I just stared. The message wasn't even sent to me. It was from the family group chat I'd been quietly removed from months ago. But someone must have tagged me by accident, and now there it was, proof that I was the forgotten one. I could almost hear my mother's voice, light and dismissive. "Oh, Maddie wouldn't want to come anyway. She's too busy." Too busy. That's what they called it when you stop begging to be included. The sun poured through my Manhattan apartment's wide windows, catching the gold thread in my silk blouse. My reflection in the glass looked calm, maybe even content. I touched the diamond stud in my ear, a gift I'd bought myself the day I realized I didn't need their approval anymore. Still, the sting was there. 17 people. 4 cars. 1 group chat. Without me. I smiled faintly, took another sip of coffee, and whispered, "All right, let's play." Because if they thought leaving me out was the end of the story, they were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 years ago, I was standing in my parents' kitchen, surrounded by voices that always seemed louder than mine. My older brother, Ethan, was leaning against the counter with that smug grin he wore like a badge. My sister, Lauren, scrolled on her phone, half listening, half judging. "I'm telling you, Mom," Ethan said, waving a hand dismissively. "Maddie doesn't get how the family business works. She's not practical." My mother didn't even look up from her chopping board. "Sweetheart, you're so creative, but that's not how we do things here." There. That word again, creative. The polite version of naive. I'd spent months putting together a proposal to modernize their small-town travel agency, digital marketing, new partnerships, rebranding. I thought I was helping, but they laughed it off like a child's drawing. "You're just overthinking again," Lauren said, glancing up with a smirk. "Besides, you hate working here. You can't even handle family dinners without drama." The words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I felt my throat tighten, my palms tremble. "You mean without being ignored?" I said softly. The silence that followed was sharp. Then laughter. Not cruel, exactly, but the kind that slices anyway. That night, I packed my things and left. No dramatic goodbye, no tears. Just one small box of clothes and my grandmother's pendant resting against my chest. Before she passed, Grandma Rose used to tell me, "When they stop hearing you, sweetheart, stop talking. Build something that makes them listen." I moved to New York the next day with nothing but that pendant, a used laptop, and the kind of quiet fury that could power cities. I remember standing in that tiny apartment, hearing traffic outside, my hands still shaking as I whispered, "They'll see me one day." Not because I begged to be seen, but because they'll have no choice. And with that, I turned off my phone, deleted the family chat, and started my own journey, one they'd never expect me to win. The first year in New York was brutal. My apartment was barely big enough for a twin bed and a desk, and the heat clinked like it was held together with prayers. But it was mine. Every chipped tile and creaking floorboard was a promise that I'd started something on my own. I found work at a small boutique travel firm downtown, answering calls, filing invoices, refilling coffee. It wasn't glamorous, but I watched everything. The way clients talked, the way deals were pitched, the way real money moved. I learned quietly, like a shadow. At night, I'd take online courses, marketing, branding, web design. My fingers cramped from typing, my eyes burned from screen light, but I couldn't stop. Every click was a rebellion. Every lesson was a brick in the life I was building. One night, my boss, a sharp, silver-haired woman named Evelyn Clark, noticed me still at my desk. "Why are you still here, Maddie?" she asked. I hesitated. "I'm trying to learn how the proposals are formatted." She tilted her head. "No one's ever asked that before." From that night on, she became my mentor, not the hand-holding kind, but the kind who saw potential and demanded it rise. "Don't shrink to make anyone comfortable," she'd say. Least of all family. 2 years later, when the firm downsized, Evelyn handed me her contact list and said, Start your own. You've already been running half of this place anyway. And I did. I launched Atlas and Ivy, a bespoke travel agency for high-end clients who wanted more than just itineraries. They wanted experiences. The name came from Grandma Rose's garden. Ivy for persistence, Atlas for discovery. At first, I barely scraped by. My first client canceled last minute, my website crashed, and my bank account mocked me with 2 digits. But then, a miracle, a small tech startup booked a retreat through me. They love my attention to detail. Word spread. 1 client turned into 5. 5 turned into 50. Within 18 months, I had a staff of 8, a rented loft office with floor-to-ceiling windows, and enough revenue to buy back my time and my confidence. Still, I didn't post about it. Not one photo, not one bragging caption. Let them think I was still too busy to join their family trips. Let them believe I was struggling. It was easier that way, building in silence, success tucked neatly behind calm smiles and vague text replies. But the funny thing about silence? Eventually it echoes. Because when Atlas and Ivy landed a feature in Forbes Women in Business and my inbox overflowed with partnership offers, I realized something. I didn't just make it. I'd become everything they once said I couldn't be. And the best part? They still had no idea. Not yet. They came back from their trip glowing, sunburned, loud, and full of stories. My phone lit up with messages I hadn't seen in months. Mom, we should all get together soon. Family dinner on Sunday. Lauren, you'll love the photos, Maddie. We missed you. Missed me. The irony almost made me laugh. I agreed to dinner. Polite, short response. Sure. Looking forward to it. Sunday came like a slow drumbeat. I pulled up to the restaurant in my black Tesla, sleek, silent, a statement wrapped in minimalism. The valet's eyes widened when he saw who stepped out in a tailored ivory pantsuit. I smiled, adjusted my coat, and walked toward the entrance. The family was already there, 15 people crammed around a long mahogany table, menus in hand, voices overlapping. Ethan spotted me first. Maddie, wow, you looked professional. I smiled. It's been a productive year. Lauren's jaw dropped when she saw the gold bracelet on my wrist, a limited Cartier she'd once drooled over online. Someone's doing well, she murmured. Mom stood to hug me, her perfume heavy with guilt. Oh, sweetheart, we really did miss you on the trip. Next time. I raised a brow. Next time? My tone was light, almost playful. Wasn't there a group chat for that? The one I'm not in. The table went still. Forks hovered midair. Ethan cleared his throat. We just thought you were busy with whatever it is you do. I leaned back, crossing my legs. Right. Whatever it is I do. The waiter appeared. Welcome back, Miss Carter, he said warmly. Would you like your usual table, or are you joining your guests tonight? A few blinks. Confusion flickered across every face. Lauren frowned. Your usual table? The waiter smiled at her. Yes, Ms. Carter owns this restaurant. The silence that followed was delicious. I could practically feel the collective gasp ripple through the air. Mom blinked. You what? I own it, I said simply. Atlas and Ivy expanded into hospitality last year. This is our first flagship. I thought it'd be fitting to host the family here on me. Ethan tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. You're kidding. I gestured around. The marble bar, the floral arrangements, the wall art depicting subtle travel themes. Does it look like I'm kidding? Lauren's fork clattered onto her plate. You built all this? I nodded. Every bit of it. While you were tagging each other in family group chats, I was building something worth being part of. Mom's eyes softened, tears glimmering beneath shock. Maddie, honey, why didn't you tell us? I met her gaze evenly. Because every time I tried, no one listened. You only hear success when it's loud enough to embarrass you. No one spoke. Even the background music seemed to fade. I took a sip of water, calm, poised. Don't worry, dinner's covered. Consider it my treat. A little thank you for the motivation. The waiter returned with champagne, and I lifted my glass. To family, I said. Even the kind that teaches you who you don't need to be. They clinked glasses hesitantly, still dazed, eyes darting around the elegant restaurant that bore my name in the corner of the menu. The revenge wasn't loud or cruel. It was graceful, the kind that made silence heavier than shouting. And judging by the looks on their faces, it worked beautifully. The next morning, my phone was flooded. Texts, voicemails, even a few awkward apologies. Mom, we're all so proud of you, honey. Ethan, didn't realize how far you'd come. Maybe we could talk about a partnership. Lauren, okay, I'll admit it. You shocked us. But maybe you went too far last night. Too far. The phrase made me laugh out loud. The same people who had erased me from their plans were suddenly wounded by a little truth. I didn't reply right away. I let the silence stretch, the same way they once did to me. Then, a few days later, I invited them to my office, the headquarters of Atlas and Ivy. They arrived like nervous schoolchildren. I could see it in their eyes. Awe, discomfort, curiosity. The lobby gleamed with soft gold accents and tall plants that climbed towards skylit ceilings. A world away from the small-town agency they had once refused to modernize. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. This is impressive, Maddie. I smiled politely. Thank you. Have a seat. They sat. I didn't drag it out. I've thought about what you said, about working together. And I'm open to it. But only under certain conditions. Mom blinked. Conditions? Yes. I folded my hands. If I'm going to let any of you be part of what I built, you'll do it on my terms, not the family's old rules. I looked at Ethan first. You'll manage client relations, but you'll earn it. No shortcuts, no pulling rank. You'll start where I did, entry-level pay. If you can handle humility, you can handle growth. His mouth opened, then closed. He nodded once. Then, Lauren, you're brilliant at social media. But I'm done with your sarcasm. You'll lead the digital team, and you'll apologize publicly for mocking me all those years ago. I don't need a spectacle, just accountability. Her cheeks flushed, but she whispered, okay. Finally, my mother. You'll stop pretending I'm the fragile one. You raised me to be strong, remember? Let's both act like it. Tears welled in her eyes, and for the first time, I saw something I'd never seen from her. Real regret. I softened my voice. This isn't about revenge. It's about respect. I don't need apologies or validation, just equality. You either walk beside me now, or you keep driving those 4 cars without me. They nodded quietly. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of the office outside my glass walls, the rhythm of a world I'd built with my own hands. Finally, I smiled. Welcome to Atlas and Ivy. Let's see if the family can actually work together this time. 6 months later, the office felt different. Quieter. Warmer. Ethan showed up early every morning, sleeves rolled, learning how to talk to clients instead of at them. Lauren turned our brand into a social media darling. Travel reels, client testimonials, behind-the-scenes stories that pulsed with life. And my mother? She started volunteering in our community programs, using her old connections to help women-owned startups find their footing. They weren't perfect, none of us were, but something had shifted. Respect had replaced resentment. One evening, I stood on the rooftop terrace of Atlas and Ivy, watching the city glitter below. The air carried that soft hum of Manhattan, cabs, laughter, life moving forward. My pendant caught the light, the small silver ivy leaf glinting against my collarbone. Grandma Rose's words echoed softly in my mind. They'll see your worth when you stop asking them to. I smiled, whispering, you were right. My phone buzzed, a new message from the family group chat. This time, my name was there. Lauren. Group trip planning. Maddie, you in? Ethan. Only if she plans it. You know she's the best. I laughed, a real, unguarded laugh. Maybe I'd join. Maybe not. Either way, I wasn't the forgotten one anymore. As the sun dipped behind the skyline, I looked down at the glowing Atlas and Ivy logos shining against the glass. The symbol of everything I'd fought for. Independence, self-respect, peace. Being left out had once felt like rejection. Now it felt like redirection, a detour that led me exactly where I was meant to be. I took a deep breath, the city breeze brushing my hair back, and let the last line form naturally in my mind, the one that felt like closure, like power. They took the trip without me, but I took the road that changed everything. And just like that, I knew this was the ending I'd been driving toward all along.